Hello, welcome to Let Me In Your Kitchen. I told you guys I had food for the soul today. We have the author of The Gift I Didn't Know I Needed, Mrs. Tamika Wimberly. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little about yourself, like where you're from originally, and what made you write this book.
Well, originally born in Boston, Massachusetts, but somehow found my way down here to good old Georgia when I was 9 to live with my grandmother and my 2 aunts. So grew up in the country. Real good.
Burke County.
Burke County. There you go. Waynesboro, Georgia. That's right. Enjoyed it too. It was a great childhood. I've always was writing ever since a small child. It was always short stories in my mind or poems. And that led to, as I got older, people would ask me to write poems about them. I did a lot of that for the church. Mm-hmm. It would be while they were still living, and some might have been when they passed on, but I would be commissioned to write poems. I've written quite a few stories.
Okay, so give us an idea about the dynamic of your family. Like how many kids?
Oh, I have 4.
Okay.
4 kids and 3 grandchildren. I am excited. I have 3 adult children and I have 1 teenager and 3 little grandchildren, 2 grandsons and 1 granddaughter.
Okay, and what led you to writing this book? And show everybody the front of the book.
This is called the Gift I Didn't Know I Needed. This book has probably been in my mind for a couple of years, mm-hmm. as I was going on my journey as a mother with a son that was diagnosed later with autism as well as major depression. Anybody who knows, when you are the caretaker of anybody in those situations, it doesn't mean not even being just a parent. It's just being the caretaker of somebody mentally or physically challenging. There's a lot of emotions you go through and you don't always talk about them. Or you just keep moving. You're in survival mode. And I work with people with disabilities, and I found myself in a lot of the parents. We start off advocating for our children, but then we become salespeople. Trying to sell my child to the world to make the world accept them. I try to do things to make them appear as normal or as acceptable. That maybe the world will just take them as normal and won't pick on them and all of those things. And it took me on my journey with my son to realize part of it was my shame. Like I felt like, what did I do for him to have autism? Mm-hmm. What did I do as a mother? Was I eating something wrong? Did I do this? Do I do that? So as I was watching my son grow in some of the issues that were going on, honestly, I started to take it personally as it was my fault. So I need to fix him. I need to fix this. I got to make him perfect for the world. I've got to do this and that and the other. And it took a while for me to realize that I didn't do anything wrong. There was no shame to it, and he is fine. He was okay. It's the world that had the problem, not my baby. Mm-hmm. And once I stopped trying to sell him and just introduce, this is my son. This is who he is. And I started pouring into him unconditionally and watching him pour back into me unconditionally. It healed me. And he finally told me, he said, "Mom, you're a good mom." He said, "You've done nothing wrong." He said, "I can go out here and get my own job. I can speak up for myself." He said, "And I'm perfectly fine. I'm loved. He said, that's the problem. The problem the world has with me, that's their problem, not ours.
Now, I have a question. At what age did you notice he was different?
Well, working in the field that I'm in, when I had him, there were um, a lot of signs. He never did eye contact. He was pretty much a very quiet child, very to himself. I kind of kept saying, okay, there's something. He has some of those things that I've seen on the spectrum.
Now, explain to people what the spectrum is.
The spectrum is it's social. A lot of it's their social. It's just how they see the world. How they can be verbal, they can be nonverbal. Sometimes they can stem. You might see them pacing. It's just so many different behaviors. You can't put them all in one category because they all do things differently.
So it's spectrum sort of an autism measurement?
Yeah.
How severe
my son is
or
considered high functioning.
Okay.
He was tested when he was in middle school because it was still a lot of things were going on in elementary school. He wasn't able to make friends normally. He usually was to himself. Now he did find other kids on the spectrum. It's like they find each other, but they were always being picked on. I found out only one time because he was chased home by some other kids. He would get jumped on and he would just act like nothing happened. Like he would just take it like that's just going to be his life, being bullied. So I was like, Lord. But I had some family members when I was saying I think he need to be tested, that they kind of fought me on it.
Well, you think that's because, it's been such a, especially with Black families, not wanting to address mental health.
Yes.
So is that what the problem was?
Didn't want to say something's wrong with your baby, like something's wrong with them just because they have a diagnosis. And then they visit that upon you as a mother. You like, you just want your baby to have problems or things like that.
And what I find interesting is that instead of identifying that there may be a problem, they'll let them go through school having problem after problem after problem after problem without getting a diagnosis and maybe something that can help them, some kind of therapy, and they'll just let them pretty much struggle just for the sake of not having a title over their child.
Yes, and that was the big thing. Don't put my child in a box with a diagnosis. And no, I need to know what's going on so that I can better help him. Yeah. That was my take on it. So the early years, the elementary years was rough because that's what I was being fought with that. Finally, in middle school, I finally said, look, we got to find out what's going on. And other teachers were like, something's different about him. So we did go do that, and we did get the diagnosis. And I was like, yeah, I knew. I kind of knew.
How did the family take the diagnosis? The other siblings, not so much everybody else.
Well, that's the thing about is the funny thing. When you're at home with family members, you're so used to the behaviors that it doesn't bother you anymore. It's when you take them outside of the safety of our home and people start seeing things. It's like, oh, I've had family members who have tics or who talk to themselves or, they stem, when they're anxious and things. But it was so normal at home. But when you went out, then when they do there, then it's like, oh, okay. My son tended to stay to himself. He did not like going out into public. I like going out, but he didn't.
Now, how long did you deal with the guilt?
All the way up till he probably 2 years ago.
Then how old is he now?
He will be 23
Okay.
in this May.
So what made you deal with the guilt?
Working in this environment and listening to the parents and watching just watching how they were selling. It's like trying to prove that their child is worth knowing and things like that. And then I kept saying, that feels like me. And some of the things you don't say, the mothers, you can see it in the mother's eyes. Sometimes they'll say, I've done everything I can. I checked. I ate what I was supposed to eat. You start going through all of those emotions, and then I had to sit down in mine. It was hard sitting down in that because I blamed myself for his journey, thinking I should have got the early diagnosis, and then I thought about maybe it's something I did. Culturally, especially in the Black culture, here comes the this is something that came down the line. Mm-hmm. Or you brought it on to yourself because you did something bad and now you done put it on your baby, things like that. So I had to deal with all those cultural things that we deal with.
And that's a shame. I mean, I understand it because in our community, for so long, people hid it. Like, it's always been there, but it was that aunt that you never saw. Because she was always in the back room. You didn't know what was quite going on. Or the uncle that you only saw during the holidays because he was impatient. Or it's just a stigma in our society. It's gotten better now, and I'm glad of that because I think all of us need therapy.
We do.
All of us. There's something wrong with everybody.
It is.
Especially what's going on in this world. I think we need to get a check, but that's a whole nother
see, that's the first thing people ask was, does he get a check? No.
Well, I need a check, and I believe that all African Americans in this country need a check for dealing with what we have to deal with being here. But back to your son. He was always this way. But once he was diagnosed, was he aware that he was diagnosed, or was he told? Okay. Oh, yeah. And how did he take that?
He told me, I could have told you that. He looked at me. He said, I could have told you I was autistic. And it was so funny because I've sat there with that paper. And I put that in the book, how I sat with that paper, looked at that paper for a long time. He just acted like it was another day.
He said, because he told me who I am.
He said, I know I'm autistic. He said, and my friends are too. And they were okay with it. Mm-hmm. And I was
just had to get yourself ready for it or okay with it.
I knew he had bouts of depression. Some of his drawings. Mm-hmm. I thought it was because of just the bullying. And it took when he was 18, he went to a program because he was trying to complete his GED. Mm-hmm. And he had a episode. Something happened out there and it triggered an episode with him. And he was put into a facility. Mm-hmm. I didn't see my son for like 2 weeks. And that's where the diagnosis of the bipolar depression came. And he looked at me, he said, at least I have a name to it.
Oh, then that's interesting.
He said, I have a name to it. Because he started researching it himself after. He said, I thought I had it. He said, but when he was going through the process of them diagnosing, and then they started talking to him about it and questioning him about certain things, he said, Mom, I always felt like I had it. Some issues going on there. He said, there's a sadness in me I can't describe. He said, sometimes I feel so happy and I'm down. He has tried to commit suicide several times throughout his life.
Wow.
As early as I think it was probably 9 or 10. Usually trying to take pills and such. And after I wrote this book, and me and my son, we just have a lot of candid conversations. He's always been in it, but he did break down that there were more attempts than I knew of. And he always told me why he never went through was because of me. He did not want me to find him like that. And he didn't want me to carry, he said, I feel like you'll carry a guilt thinking it was your fault that I took my life. So that's why we're trying to find more help for him, get him on more medications. He realizes he needs his medication and he enjoys therapy. So we're trying to get him back into therapy.
Now, how long ago, is he on medication now?
No.
Okay.
He called. My son literally, after he got his GED, he said, I want to go to Virginia. And I said, you get your GED, you can go. He literally was